everybody, and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast, episode number 65. Hello, a croeso I podcast fi chwech pimp. My name is Mr. Gareth, and joining me today is Mr. Henry, I don't have a middle name today, Cooper.
Well, I'm actually disappointed because I was thinking to myself, well, I'm not wearing.
Okay, go on. Henry inspired Cooper, right?
Inspired by greatness. I inspire greatness in others. I'm a fearless leader on the battlefield. Let's go with that one.
You're inspired. You have generated some greatness today because we've got a new segment which we'll get into, and the naming of it was inspired. So a little bit of a teaser for you there for the upcoming segment. We know like teasers in the games industry. So in today's podcast, we will be talking about Total War of Platforms. Get it? Total War of Platforms. Love it. After that, take one company and kill it, not take two. Get it? That's my mistake. Oh God.
You're having a great time with these headlines.
And then we have our new segment, which we have called Companies Are Selling Horseshit, Greedy Robbing Arsehole Bastards, or as other people might want to call it, Cash Grab of the Week. See what we did there? See what we did? After that was brilliant. It's brilliant. What are you talking about?
It needs to be on a t-shirt.
Actually, your new merch comes to the channel very soon. After that, it's the community section where we begin with taking some Discord questions. Then we look at some triggered fanboy comment of the week from the YouTube comments, and then some other YouTube comments, and then the bad dad joke of the week to finish off the podcast. That is the running order. Let's jump straight in because I feel like it's going to be a long one today. Total War of Platforms. Now, Total War Troy, Total War Saga Troy or something. I can't remember. Total War Saga Troy. Yeah, that's what the official name is. This is a new Total War game that's coming to PC very soon on August the 13th. However, it's been announced that this game will be exclusive to the Epic Game Store for 12 months. Now, before you get upset, but yes, this is an Epic exclusive story. Again, we've covered a lot of these in the past. Before you get upset, there's a little sweetener, right? They've promised to give you the game for free for 24 hours. All you have to do is they're literally bribing you now to install the Epic Game Store.
Yeah,
that's how bad it's got.
And this is proving to be much more controversial than I would have ever expected for a free game. Because you think, free game, how could that be anything but a bad thing?
Where's
but
the catch?
People aren't so keen on. Yeah. There's
the Epic Game Store.
Something else you've got to deal with. Exactly.
So this is the latest promotion that Epic look at, and it's unheard of, right? Almost a AAA game. It's just not quite AAA because it's a Total War Saga, which is a slightly smaller kind of iteration of the Total War franchise. This is a Total War Saga, which is a smaller and a more focused Total War game. Like Thrones of Britannia was one, where they just focused on the Viking invasion of the Britons in like the 9th century. That was a decent game. It's pretty much a full-on Total War game. If you get the same amount of play out of it as you would in a regular Total War game. So it's kind of a AAA game. Let's picture that. But offering it on day one for free, so they're missing out on loads of revenue from day one sales. However, Total War games have always been on Steam. That's their platform. Now, Creative Assembly, who are the owners and creators of Total War series, they have decided to go with Epic Games for 12 months. But to sweeten the pill, they're giving you 12 months. They're giving you the game for free for 24 hours if you get it on the day of release, August the 13th. That's the headline, essentially, right? Before we jump into it. Now, I do want to read out some quotes from their Twitter when they announced it, and also their blog explaining the decisions behind this, because I know a lot of people just hate Epic for one reason or another, association with China, some accusations of stealing information, all that stuff, right? That's been said and done. This is a different situation because No, I can't remember a time where people are just giving away free games on launch. It's almost unheard of. So let's get into the nuance of this then. So the tweets began, a Total War Saga, Troy, will be released on Epic Games Store August the 13th and will be free to keep if claimed within the first 24 hours of release. Troy will be an Epic exclusive for 1 year and will be available on Steam 13th of August 2021. We know some of you might want more information on this, so please read blah blah blah. We currently have no plans for any future games to be Epic exclusive. We do want to be more platform agnostic moving forward, and we would like future games to be available on the Epic Games Store, but that's in addition to being on other platforms such as Steam. The free window will begin at the moment of release, and we'll definitely make sure we're prepared for this ahead of time. So that was the announcement. So this is a one-off, they're saying there. It will only be this, and it's because we want to go over different platforms, not just have a fan base on Steam. We want fan bases on.
It's a very carefully worded PR thing. They're trying to be as I like the phrase platform agnostic. They're trying to just be like, we're not complete Epic shills. We're not just completely selling out to them. We are going to do stuff. So they've been very careful on that one.
This is Creative Assembly, right? And from my experience reading out their quotes and their press releases, they're always very sympathetic to everyone's point of view and always very transparent and honest with people. That's my interpretation of them before reading this, right? So that was my interpretation going in. This is the blog post. This is the meat of it, right? Why they're doing this essentially. So it's quite wordy this, so I'll read through it quite quickly and then we'll get on to the chat bit. So they begin, as developers, we truly value our existing fans, but at the same time we want to reach new audiences and have as many people as possible experiencing the thrill of Total War for themselves. As a business, that means putting Total War onto new platforms so that it can reach more players. It was a difficult decision, and you can be assured that there were a lot of different opinions in the studio and a lot of discussions about it, which largely focused on what it would mean for you, the players. However, ultimately, we are considering two things. First, we are at a time when we are looking to invest more into the ongoing development of Total War. This felt like an opportunity to really move the franchise forward by getting it in front of more people. Secondly, Epic were paying for our players to have our latest release free on day one for Total War's 20th birthday. That felt like an opportunity too good to pass up. We don't want to be limited to just Steam, we also want to diversify our business. Making it available for free for everyone to keep during the first 24 hours wouldn't have been possible without this deal. Finally, we've just got one favour to ask. However you feel about this, please keep any criticism to the studio as a whole and don't take it out on individual employees that you might find on various social media platforms. We get it, it's unexpected, but they're not going to be able to change anything and probably weren't the ones who made the decision regardless. I feel that obviously there's a lot that was said in addition to that, but I picked out my biggest points. I feel that is it's the way to do it. It addresses all the concerns, it highlights the inner turmoil that they had about reaching the decisions, it highlights all the pros and cons of doing it, what it means to them, what it means for the players, and Epic's role in it, and then it also is sympathetic to the employees as well, trying to protect the employees. I think that this touches all the bases, and it again consolidates my feeling that Creative Assembly know what they're fucking doing.
Yeah, and I really like that they're not shying away from the controversy around it, because a lot of the time these developers come out and say, yeah, we're signing with Epic and it's going to be amazing, it's going to be this, bang, bang, celebrate. But these guys seem to have been a bit more like, right, we know a lot of you aren't going to like it, but we're doing it anyway because we think it's a good thing, and they've tried to highlight how it's good for the players as well. That it's a free game, man, and that's what's clinching it entirely. That's solely what makes this particularly interesting. And surely Epic are effectively subsidizing the game sale. Surely the deal for exclusivity is more than just exclusivity this time. It's got to have a whole extra amount of their projected like pre-orders and day one sales and that kind of stuff. That has to be an extra thing. So assuming that is the case, but we don't know, Creative Assembly aren't losing any money, but they're getting their game out for free to even more people, which is only a good thing for them.
Yeah.
you can argue that it's a bad thing for you as a player because you've got to use the Epic Store and you may not like it, but that solely lies with your interpretation.
Well, I mean, I think they see it as a win-win-win, right? There's three parties here. There's the player, there's the Epic Store, and then there's Creative Assembly, right? The player gets the game for free. They win. You could argue, I don't like Epic Store. That's up to you. You can wait 12 months and still play the game. Epic get the win because they get some PC strategy game players onto their platform, as well as diversify their portfolio or catalogue of games. So they get a grand strategy game on there, which they don't have that many of. So again, it's a win for them, and they grow in there.
And establish a continued relationship with Creative Assembly, because they say they're going to continue to do on both Epic and Steam.
Yep, and then Creative Assembly win because they get that player base that's on Epic primarily for Fortnite. Let's be honest, all those players that might want to mature, let's say, from Fortnite app someday and be exposed to some actual real games.
They're going to get overwhelmed.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's say what we think, aren't we? So, if you don't like what I'm saying, just suck it up. It's just the truth. So the fact that Epic are literally paying, probably this is the case. We can summarise from what's been said is that Epic, for every free game that's downloaded, Epic are going to pay Creative Assembly what's due to them if it was a sale, right? So 50,000 people download it for free, 50,000 sales basically go to Creative Assembly. They don't miss out. So it's a huge promotion for Epic, and it's a change in their strategy, and it makes you wonder if they realise how badly, in some of the gaming community, how badly they're thought of, because it's almost unprecedented, like a AAA game on day of release for free. I mean, do it for Cyberpunk. I don't care using the Epic Store. My God, I mean, how big would that be? Fucking hell. Yeah. People are already shouting at me in the second year.
They've definitely chosen their game carefully, because they'll go for Total War with a core, very dedicated fan base, but it's not mainstream appeal, because it's a strategy game. They're often quite difficult, and no casual will play this kind of game. So they've gone for something with a strong player base, but it's not ultra mainstream, so they're not going to have to pay out too much, if you know what I mean.
Well,
if they did put Cyberpunk out for free, one would expect that to get more sales than Total War would.
That is true.
So,
but at the same time, there might be a bunch of players who do play Fortnite, or they're Epic game players who I've not experienced it. I'm just curious about a grand strategy game. Because it's free, just click free, and then it's there in your library. You don't even have to install it. It's just yours forever. All you got to do is within that 24-hour period, click free. I often do that with they're doing weekly free games now at Epic Store, and I just go on there, click free, Borderlands collection, wherever it is, the first two games. Click, buy it, get it for free. And then I just leave it in my library. I might never ever play it, but it's still there, and I think a lot of people might take them up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I think. If you've got any of these platforms which do free games, like, because Epic do it, PSN does it, and that's part of what you pay for with their thing. Same with Xbox. Basically, every platform does it now. So if you just snap them up and add them to your library, don't bother downloading them. Just be like, it's an extra game you can play if you've got nothing else going on, or a bit of free time or something that comes across, and you're like, well, I'm in the middle of this, but I'll come back to it. Just download add to your library every free game you get. It's in your best interest.
Absolutely. I think this is a win-win-win. I said last week, a launcher for me is just a way to get to my game. It's always going to be a hurdle anyway. Whether it's Steam, whether it's Epic, whatever DRM you want to package the game up in, it's always going to be something. It's like an obstacle to get to my game. So whether it's Steam or Epic, it doesn't matter to me. So I in that way, I consider them equal. I've got to launch this and then launch my game. Right, whether it's Steam or Epic. I know I triggered some people, and we might get answered a couple of them comments later on. But that's the way I see it, and that's just how I feel. You're entitled to feel differently yourself. But at the same time, that's how it is, and I understand that people have a preference not for Epic, but I'm interested to see whether a free game, like where's your loyal. How far do your loyalties go? Like, if you are a Steam diehard gamer, like if they offered, Cyberpunk for free, this game, a bunch of other AAA games coming out for free, like Death Stranding comes to PC, if that was free, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 for free. If they did all those, how long would you stick by Steam, or would you just miss out? Because I'm interested in the line that people draw personally, like how far they're willing to stand by their convictions.
Yeah. How far do your loyalties go for a company that doesn't act? Either company doesn't actually care about you. Their businesses, they care about making money. So how far are you going to go? You're going to deny yourself having a free game and having fun because of your convictions, certainly well within your rights to do, or are you just going to let it go and be like, I just want to play a game, man. I don't want to get like pseudo political about my launches or whatever. I just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And as I was saying last week, it always comes down. It will always come down to that one game which you, as a person, will make you go there. And this being free is an extra thing. Total War could have been the game to force people to go there because they absolutely love it. It's the #1 franchise they play, best thing in the world. But now it's free. It's an extra thing, and I mean, I'd do it. If I was a big PC player, I'd absolutely do it.
I absolutely am going to do it myself.
We're just epic shills. We're epic shills, so we're getting paid to say this.
Well, we're not. We're always very neutral down the middle, but people see us as epic shills if they are hard. It's like a political thing, isn't it? If they're hard Steam, then we look like we're far epic. You know what I mean? But if people are far epic, then we look like we're hard Steam. Do you know what I mean? That's how
I just like games, man. I like games.
Yeah, that's it. Play games. Just get into the game. That's what I'm at. And if hopefully, I'm interested in Total War Troy because I played Thrones of Britannia. I didn't connect with that much. I've actually reinstalled it because of this news. It kind of triggered me. And I've been watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix. I've been blitzing it. I'm on season 4 now. And really liked it. And because Thrones of Britannia is set in that exact era, I thought, well, I'm interested to play more. I didn't play a lot of Thrones of Britannia. Hopefully they've fixed up the problems that they had with it now. And also, I'm very invested in the time period and some of the characters that are already on the playing field because of the TV show. So I'm going to be playing that for the next week. Probably. Other than that, right, so let's talk about Troy a little bit. If you're not interested in all the drama and the epic things, right, there's a bit of information about the game in case you weren't familiar and you're interested. So the FAQ mentions them using Denuvo as DRM. I don't know if that's that important to you. There'll be no mod support or launch of creators, and they say that would be the same with Steam if it was for Epic. Steam community support and mods and stuff on Steam is a big part of why some people like Steam. Personally, you can get mods elsewhere yourself, but mods will be supported at some point. You won't have the Steam creator thing, wherever it is, at launch, for 12 months at the very least. Some details about the game specifically. There will be naval battles, and the quote is, "We've used Total War Warhammer 2, Curse of the Vampire Coast as our main inspiration for the naval combat in Troy." For those of you who are familiar with the naval combat in that game, that's what it's been emulated off. Includes mythical creatures such as the Minotaur. However, instead of being a beast, is a hulking man clad in stinking hides and wearing the skull of a bull. So they're not going full on, big mythical creatures.
Supernatural.
Yeah, exactly. Not supernatural. It's kind of it's a Minotaur, but it's like a man. He just stinks a bit, and he looks a bit ugly.
It's just a big guy.
It's just a big guy. What's kind of interesting for me is that they are including the Greek gods, of which you can worship several at once. So you've got the ancient Greek gods, which I can't even remember them now. What are the ancient?
Like Zeus, Ares, Poseidon.
Exactly. Those ones, Ares, are the god of war, whatever. So you can worship several of them at once. Not just the religion usually is just Christianity, and then the pagans or whatever. But this time, you can. I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting. So they've got to try and iterate on how that works. That'd be great. Completely new multiple resource economy, they say, and this is a point of contention for me. Amazon's right? There's a DLC coming to the game. It'll also come out on the day of release. More details will be revealed soon. They are known for they're quite aggressive with DLCs or Creative Assembly. Fans are happy with it. Other people, not so much. They did like a blood and gore DLC for Thrones of Britannia, and I don't think it's needed. Just add it in the game and have it clickable on and off. But I think, if there's their way to try and additionally monetize the game where they're not quite making enough money, I guess that's fine. But if you got to pay a couple of quid just for blood and gore in a game, I think that's overly aggressive for me. No details yet on what Amazon is going to include. Maybe it's a new faction or something. That's the type of thing they do in these kind of strategy games. It's not the greatest for additional monetization, this genre of PC games, that's for sure. So I'm interested in that. Just a bit of a question mark over that. And lastly, the Trojan horse will have a major role to play within Troy campaign. So the Trojan horse is there, which is great, right?
I mean, excellent. It's not Troy unless you've got the Trojan horse. I wonder does that mean it's like a story thing or is it an actual gameplay mechanic? Like if you're, who was it? Was
Achilles?
Not the Athenians. Yeah, who was Achilles with? Because who was attacking Troy? Is it the Athenians? I can't remember. Or is it Spartans? I can't remember. So whoever's
the quiz is later,
that
Henry.
one.
The quiz is later.
if you can use it as a mechanic and stealth your way inside a giant old horse, it's one of those things in history when you're like, how the hell did that work? Like Hector and everyone in Troy, how did that work? You see this, you've been at battle for ages, and this big old wooden horse comes up, and you're like, sound, let's just bring it inside. Like, I mean, it could also be one of those that didn't actually. Yeah, it could be one of those that didn't actually happen and is like, kind of a bit of fantasy, and everyone's said it, and the horse probably started out as just a small thing, and then the story expanded, and now it's a giant horse when everyone hid inside it, and then they were inside the walls. It's absurd to me. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent.
Well, people were stupid back in the day. You never know. But
people are stupid now.
No, that's true. Exactly. It's human nature, isn't it? There's one thing that I've missed out here. Details about the game. It includes 8 famous heroes which can duel on the battlefield, including Achilles and the Prince of Troy, Hector. So that's another nugget there. So it's one of these Total War games with characters, and it's all about characters and them on the battlefield. And what will happen when they start fighting is that all the other troops will move out of the way, and there'll be a big circle where they're dueling like character against character, which looks pretty cool. So there you go. That is the details about Total War coming exclusively to Epic for 12 months. However, you can get it free if you're willing to swallow that bitter pill, which is you have to install Epic Games. I mean, there you go. That's it. So next up, let's move on to the story of Take-Two take one company and flush it down the toilet. Right, Henry?
I was just going to go with Houston, we have a problem, but
that's your
haphazard Take-Two part.
That's fine.
Okay, good. So, Kerbal Space Program, popular sort of indie level game, space flight simulator where you build ships and stations and explore the galaxy. Quite popular. There's Kerbal Space Program 2, which was supposed to be coming out this year but has been delayed due to various things, which we'll get into. So the second one is developed by Star Theory and published by Private Division, who are part of Take-Two, and Take-Two are one of those super publishers which basically own half the industry at this point. They have 2K, who does like Borderlands. They own Rockstar, loads of big AAA games as well as smaller indie ones. It's not the same studio who did Kerbal Space Program 1, because Take-Two just snatched up the rights and then gave it to this other studio, Star Theory. So this is a hot scoop from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg now. Might be his first kind of big story to break over there, at least the one that I'm aware of. So the devs at Star Theory got an email through LinkedIn, which is kind of an odd way to break news to your crew, back in December last year, and it was from the publisher saying that the game that they've been developing for 2 years, Kerbal Space Program 2, is being pulled. They're taking it. You're basically fired.
Yeah.
We're taking the project you're working on, and you've got to figure it out or come work with us again. It's really weird.
That's the first point of contention, isn't it? Right. This isn't during C virus lockdown. This was December last year, so they could have called a meeting, right? They could have told people in the flesh, but they messaged them on LinkedIn and said, "Listen, you've lost your jobs." I mean, come on, man. Come on. What? It's like, how dehumanizing is that? It's like, just send a message. Yeah. They'll be all right. Just send a message. You're talking about people's livelihoods here. You're talking about people's jobs. Like, how? Man, that's such a corporate move. That I hate that.
So, executive producer at Private Division called Michael Cook. He was, I believe, the one who sent the message over LinkedIn to everyone. So it begins with, I don't know if this is the whole thing, but it's some quotes that Shire put up. This was an incredibly difficult decision for us to make, but it became necessary when we felt business circumstances might compromise the development, execution, and integrity of the game. So we're pulling the game from you. This game you've been working on for 2 years. We're taking it away because of business circumstances. Yeah. What the fuck does that mean? Like, that's nothing.
Exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to transparency and integrity with these companies, right? I talked through some quotes from Creative Assembly earlier, and they were completely transparent, right? They said, these are the difficulties, this is what happened, this is our decision, this is why we made the decision. This is just business circumstances. It's such corporate bullshit. It's PR line. It's you can see it. The difference in these two statements are night and day, right? This is a big corporate entity, just doesn't give a fuck about people, whether they're fans, whether they're employees, anybody. They're just after the money, and that's what they see. Business circumstances is all that's important to them, and that is highlighted, and it's very, very clear here.
So then the next part was, so we're taking your game away, you're basically fired, but... To that, and this is a quote, to that end, we encourage you to apply for a position with us. We're firing you, but take another job with us. Yeah. And that comes because the game hasn't been cancelled or anything. It still exists and is still in development. They've just moved it. So what they called Star Theory, they're not working on it anymore. Take-Two have taken the rights, because they own it, and set up a brand new studio to handle it, a studio called Intercept Games. And... this is where I'm so confused, because you've taken the game from the people who were making it, and it wasn't in any development hell. The devs who spoke to Shire said it was running smoothly and on schedule and all that. But they've taken it from them and just stuck it in their new homegrown studio, and that feels to me just because that they can then control it more and have the finances play the way they want to, instead of having this extra third-party studio acting on their behalf. It's so they can keep all the money in one place.
I think what this speaks to me, I mean, I'm reading between the lines here, I'm speculating, this isn't necessarily true, but what it says to me is that they didn't have any faith in the management at, was it Star Theory? Star Theory. They didn't have any faith in the management at Star Theory, so they basically fired the management, moved the game from that company to one of their own internal companies, and then they rehired a lot of the staff who were working on it to try and make a seamless transition. Basically, just taking out the management from that game out of the equation because they weren't happy with how it was going. If that's the situation, then as a business, they're basically firing the management is what they're doing of that company. Yeah. Of the owners of that company. Because what happened, you probably talk about what happened to the studio after that, but it's just a corporate bullshit way of dealing with something rather than being a human being, right?
Yeah, and so then the next part of the quote is, we are offering a compensation package that includes a cash sign-on bonus, so we'll pay you if you come sign with us, an excellent salary, not going to say what, bonus eligibility, and other benefits. So look at all these pretty things that you can come work for us at our little homegrown studio, rather than staying where you were, where everything was fine until we fucked it up. Yeah. So studio founders Bob Berry and Jonathan Maver, they called a meeting to explain why the project was cancelled and tell everyone kind of the new order of things and what's going to happen. And apparently they were in talks to sell Star Theory to Take-Two, but were ultimately dissatisfied with the terms of the agreement and the negotiations and whatnot. So what you're saying about they're not happy with the management, that kind of rings true in a way and not in another, because these guys are trying to sell it. So something must have gone wrong in the discussions there, so that Take-Two didn't want to buy that studio. They kind of wanted to have their cake and eat it, I reckon. So they wanted to buy that studio, but these two blokes weren't completely, you know, groveling and bootlicking. So they were just like, right, we're gonna take your game, we're gonna take your team, and we're gonna do it ourselves.
Yeah, we're gonna take two, essentially, right? Your game and your team.
Exactly. Yep, that's it. So then this apparently all led to just 5 weeks of total chaos at the studio, because you've had your one project. I mean, they're not a huge team. I think it said that they're only about 30 devs, just not knowing what to do with themselves because they've had their project taken away. Yeah. So apparently Take-Two hired over a third of Star Theory's team, including creative director Nate Simpson, studio chief Jeremy Abels, and lead producer Nate Robinson. So they're three of the key people involved in the game, but they're not the studio founders or owners or anything like that.
Yeah.
So they're key developers, and a third of your dev team is about 12, I think. So it's about 30 developers in total. So about 12 of them went to, what do they call it? Intercept Games? Yeah, something like that. Intercept Studio, one of them.
Yeah.
So everyone who was left at Star Theory then just had to brainstorm as many ideas. We've got to think of a new project. We've got to do something and find someone to sell it to. We need to get a new deal going so that we can stay afloat, basically, because that's it's a horrendous thing to happen to your business. So they're getting ready for a conference full of pitches at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, where they'd hoped that they could talk to all these different people, secure something, and keep going with presumably a brand new IP, like a new idea. But GDC was cancelled because of the Foster's Fever situation. So they couldn't do that. Their one lifeline was basically severed. And unfortunately, on the 4th of March, as a result of the Foster's Fever taking a complete toll on the company, the Star Theory is officially shut down and has ceased operating its business. Yeah. Although everyone apparently at the studio did get 1 month's severance pay and 2 months health insurance. So they've not left their crew like hung out to dry or anything like that. They've taken care of them.
That's it's a shame. I was sad to hear people losing their jobs. It's never easy for any party involved. So that is a big shame, and the fact that they couldn't. They're basically literally fucked by corporations here. Literally fucked in the arse by a corporate. That's how bloodthirsty these fuckers are. They don't give a fuck. So that I don't have much more to say about that. It's sad. Nothing more to say.
And so one developer who was willing to speak to Schreier and have his name revealed, because most of them didn't, because there's legal potential problems that it can be caused if you're not kept anonymous. But this guy is senior engineer Patrick Mead, and he was willing to be publicized, and he wouldn't discuss anything in detail, again probably because there would be legal action, but he did say that he doesn't want to work under Take-Two specifically, or any sort of big old corporation. So the quote is, "I was at a small studio where the work I did had a massive impact on our success. When I see myself at any large corporation, that is fundamentally not me." So he just wants a bunch more creative freedom and to actually reap the rewards of the work you're doing, because Kerbal Space Program, very popular, especially in the indie space.
Yeah,
and people really, really like it. But then if some ultra corporation's just going to hoover up all the good stuff you did and you get nothing for it, kind of what's the point? So I totally get this guy.
Yeah, this isn't the original developers of the first game, though. So, they actually were sold to Take-Two and Starbreeze. I can't remember the name.
Star Theory, I think.
Star Theory.
I keep wanting to say Space Theory.
So they took it over anyway.
Yeah, so it's not originally them.
It wasn't originally theirs, but they did have a contract in place and they were working towards it. They just got fucked in the arse because management didn't like, or Take-Two management didn't like the management of Star Theory. So it's just what it is. The
two founders of the studio haven't come out and said anything. They declined to speak to Schreier about any of it. But this, to me, it's the perfect example of just corporate meddling. The game was developing fine. Everything was going fine. and it would have probably come out and been probably at least a little bit of a success, given how popular the original game was.
Yeah.
So this just stinks to me of Take-Two and Private Division and all that wanting to just get as much as possible by bringing it in-house with their own studio. Then they don't have to pay this or that. Everyone's under their contract. They can make them do what they want. It's
control, isn't it?
Nasty corporate stuff.
I mean, we know for certain that they've got more control over the IP now, whereas previously they maybe didn't. But what we don't know is how maybe there were factors involved with the Star Theory management being awkward, being obstructive, being difficult. You know, we don't know the ins and outs of it, right? So there may be a situation where it's not there's not a bad guy and a good guy. That there might be grey areas in between. We don't know those details, so we can only just speculate on it and say, you know, this is how it's panned out. So it looks like this big corporate entity has just been an arsehole, but it might have been an arsehole because there were other arseholes, you know, in the whole situation. We don't know. So I guess
certainly possible. And I think there's two questions around the sequel itself. So I wonder if these kind of developmental disruptions, because it's a huge disruption, are like a lot of your team is now not working on it. You've had those who are working on it have had to completely move studio. They're under new rules and new contracts because it's technically a new job. You're just doing the same thing. So will that impact the quality of it, and will it impact the sales of it? Like, will people, if this article gets a lot of traction and people know about it, will people care that much? And again, if the quality of the sequel is impacted by it, that probably will impact the sales potential of the game. So that's something that should be considered, and it could have been not a problem. The problem could have been eliminated if Take-Two weren't so bullish and aggressive in this tactic. At least that's the way it seems based on this article and whatnot. And then there's a question of, are the founders, Bob Berry and Jonathan Maver, are they sellouts for selling their company and not staying indie, for trying to sell it anyway because they didn't actually go through? Are they sellouts, or is it just business? Is it just the way the industry goes? Money's got to come from somewhere, and game development's hard. It's iterative and things constantly change. You've got people make promises all the time that they can't keep, and if someone comes along, some enormous publisher's like, yeah, we'll buy you out. Yeah, that sounds like quite a tempting proposition to a lot of people.
It's always the case with corporations and companies, you know, owners being, you know, looking after their own motives. The people who suffer are always the gamers and the employees, always, right? We're the ones who suffer. Yep. The gamers get maybe an inferior game, maybe a delayed game, I don't know, maybe even a better game. We don't know that, but you know, for one thing's for certain, this game isn't coming when it's supposed to be coming. There's a lot of disruption. It's development hell, you could say. I mean, I don't know. Again, speculation. The employees for definite lost their jobs. Yeah, they got off another job. Do you want to go work for Take-Two though? I mean,
the people who took away your job and made you lose your job, do you really want to go work for them again? For some people, I'm sure it's an easy decision because you could, I'll go work for them again because I was loving what I was doing and I can just continue to do that. Yeah. But for I think for plenty of other people, they're going to feel betrayed. And
what's that say?
Yeah.
So anyway, I think, are we done with that?
Yeah. There's not much more to say. It's just corporations doing what corporations do, and being pricks.
I'm just excited to move on to our next segment, which is the very first of this new segment, which we are calling "Companies Are Selling Horse Shit, Greedy, Robbing Arsehole Bastards." And if you haven't noticed, that the first letter of those words sell out cash grab. And this is the very first cash grab of the week. We don't have a jingle, but you're just going to have to live with it, right? So this is a big one, right? I'm not sure we're going to have to be able to keep this up every week. I'm sure there'll be little cash grabs we can throw in now and then, but we'll try our best. But this is a big cash grab, right? So this is the news that Sega have announced the Game Gear Micro for their 60th anniversary. And my subheading on this story is, what the fuck is this? So this thing is due out on October the 6th, right? In Japan only for now, because they probably get far too much backlash if they release it in the West. So what all it is basically a Game Gear, and they've shrunk it down to literally the size of a grain of salt, or let's be generous and say it's a grain of rice, because it's so small. It's the smallest thing. Oh my god! And the pictures on the website, they're like huge, they're blown up huge, and they look like the original size of a Game Gear. But if you put it in someone's hand, it's this small. It's so small, right? The dimensions on this thing are 80 millimeters, so that's 8 centimeters across, 8 centimeters, man, and then 4.3 centimeters tall, and then 2 centimeters thick. It's that fucking big, man. It's that small.
It looks like a McDonald's toy.
It is a McDonald's toy. Okay, I haven't got to the best part yet, Henry. So each one of these things, they're selling 4 of these things, each in different colours. Each one of them sells with 4 games, and they cost $50 each. So for the whole thing, you get 200...
For something that it's like this big.
Yeah, it's got a 1-inch screen. A 1-inch screen. Okay, so the black model, just a bit of detail, the black model comes with Sonic the Hedgehog, Puyo 2, Outrun, Royal Stone. The blue variant comes with Sonic Chaos, Gunstar Heroes, Sylvan Tale, Baku Baku Animal. The yellow game comes with Shining Force Gaiden, Ensei, Jashin no Kunihi. I shouldn't try and say these. Shining Force, The Sword of Hajia, Shining Force Gaiden, Final Conflict, and Nazo Puyo Aruru no Ru. Those 4 games. And then the red version comes with Revelations Demon Slayer, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible Special, the GG Shinobi, and Columns. So that's it. They're selling these little devices that they fit in your pocket. They could fit in your wallet even. You know, they're that small. For $50 each. $50. How are you going to lose that? Like, you know what I mean? It's the size. Might be even the size of this memory card. I mean, I'm going to measure this memory card. It might even be that big. It might even be that big, right? It's that small. So it's basically a bit of a scam, right? Only 4 games on each. Why not 16 games on each, right? Just choose the color. No, but you have to buy all of them. You have to buy $200. You have to get them all. If you're a fan of any of these games, you've got to buy $50 for these old games. Really, really old games. Oh, it's a celebration of the 60th anniversary. You're fleecing people, and you can't even see the screen. And to see the screen properly, you're going to have to buy a package, right, where you get all 4 consoles and a big window magnifying glass accessory to hook onto them so you can see the screen properly, and that's for $250. So it's literally, you get a magnifying glass for the value of $50 on top of the 4 consoles. This is an utter scam and an utter cash grab. Sega, what the fuck are you doing? Totally capitalizing on the love that your fans have for your games and franchises. This is the worst thing I've seen in cash grab news in ages, which is why I've had to devote a whole new segment of the podcast to it. The cash companies are selling horseshit, greedy, robbing arsehole bastards. Kind of sums up nicely.
I mean, I saw in the news that there was something called the Game Gear Micro, and I was like, oh, all right. I don't really care. I've never played the Game Gear. Whatever. It's a retro Sega thing. All right, cool. Micro consoles are trendy now. But I wish I looked into this because this is hysterical.
It is. You stopped too soon. You looked at the headline, didn't you?
That was it.
If only the headline was companies are selling hell shit, greedy, robbing arsehole bastards, and subheading, what the fuck is this? Like I've written on my notes.
So it's $50, or whatever the equivalent currency is in Japan. One of 4 colors, and you don't even get to pick the games. So you have to then buy the other ones. Now, what if I want the blue model, but I want to play Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah,
and then on one of them, the yellow one, you've got 3 games from the same franchise.
Yeah, they're all kind of RPG top-down RPG games. So they're kind of meaty games, them ones. I think they're like the RPG collection, as far as I can see. So yeah,
this is just so stupid.
I think there's not much more to say about that. That is the cash grab of the week.
That's it.
And it's time to move on then. So next up is our PGG community section. Okay, so before we get into this, I just want to note some of the changes or some of the donations that have come in over the last week on our Patreon. By the way, patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You can support us. For those $1 a month, you can get early access to these podcasts. And Thomas M. Pritchard, I think I mentioned him last week as it came in during the podcast, but I think I put it in this section to give it its proper place. $1 patron. Yeah. Every single dollar counts. If everyone donated $1 who likes art and supports our videos, we wouldn't even have to ask anybody else. It's more than everything. David Robinson became a $1 patron. Very, very grateful for you, Mr. David Robinson. I think it's the guy who messages. Where is he from? From around by us. I think it was a Wirral somewhere. Maybe I'm misremembering. The Dwarf edited their pledge from $1 to $5. We appreciate that, Mr. Dwarf. I'm sorry about your size. Next up, John Patrick edited their pledge from $25 to $35, man. Upped it from 25 to 35. John Patrick, MVP, man. Well done. Thank you very much. Jan C.a.s.H.G.r.a.b edited their pledge from $5 to $10. So that's 3 upped pledges. Why are people upping their pledges this week, Henry? Well, I'll tell you why they're upping their pledges. Because Henry made a video about the Sony announcing a delay to do with the George Floyd debacle, and he threw a load of sensical, well-reasoned, well-thought-out stuff in the video, and people respected that and enjoyed that. And I think one of the comments was from John Patrick saying he's going to increase his. We'll get to that later. He's going to increase his pledge, and I think since that video went out, yes, it was a divisive video. A lot of people disliked it. These political ones always are. What you'll notice from that video, though, is that the like-to-view ratio is the highest that we've had in a long time. So although people are disliking that video because of some things that they disagreed with Henry, it connected strongly, it struck a chord with a lot of people. So, if you just want the plain news, if you just want basic news, go to CNN, go to somewhere else, right? If you want our thoughts and feelings about things, if you're actually interested in us and how we feel and how we think, and you trust us like that, that's what we're here for. That's what PGG is, right? Heart on our sleeves. We're here to tell you what we think. You don't have to agree. It's not about you agreeing. It's not about an echo chamber. It's about an exchange of opinions, and whether you agree or not, we can have a civilized conversation around it. That's the ethos of Pretty Good Gaming, and it always has been. So for us to throw our opinions out there, I'm always known for getting angry or whatever. That is what we are. That's what we stand for. And I think the community have responded here by supporting Henry. There's a lot of supportive comments. And also upping their pledges because it's resounded with them so much. So I just wanted to make sure that I said all of that, because although you do tend to put yourself out there for backlash when you say these things, it's important that the truth is said and that you're properly represented. Whether you agree or not, you don't have to agree. We'll get backlash, and you will feel the brunt of that, because it's really horrible having to do that and having to put up with people just spewing violent shit at you all the time. Just know that there are people supporting you, Henry, when you do that. Above everyone. So I just wanted to make that clear in this part of the podcast.
I don't really want to dwell on that whole situation, but because no one really cares. I think a lot of the comments were people saying they don't want to hear it, and that I spent a lot of time thinking about how to word it. So, and I don't regret anything I said. Everything I said was the way I wanted to say it, whether it was aggressive or rude or whatever. That's the way I wanted to say it. And the more uncomfortable I was writing it, and the harder it was, the more I realized I wanted to do it, and felt like I needed to. And it's not going to be a common occurrence on the channel. It's not a shift to being like some ultra political thing. But I feel I have a responsibility to say what I think And when I think things are, I don't think this is a political situation. It's a moral situation. I think making it political is reductive. And I think I have a moral obligation as a human being to do it, and I chose to do it, and I would do it again, but I don't expect it to happen regularly. It's not. We're here to talk about video games. That's all we care about.
Absolutely.
But I said what I wanted to say, and that's it.
Exactly. If everyone else who had a platform and were able to connect with people and share opinions and thoughts with people, if they cowed away from these things, then nobody would say anything, and the status quo would be maintained. Right? This is what we want to try and break. This is why people are standing up and having their voices heard now, because yeah, and you can diminish it by saying, oh, there's other atrocities, there's this and that. I'm not going to get into it too deeply, but it's if Henry wants to stand up and make a point, you can agree with him or not. He can put a disclaimer. He said, I'm going to go into my opinion now. Just turn the video off now if you don't want to hear it. That's just do that and don't get triggered by it. Or disagree. That's fine. It's simple. You make your choice. We've made ours. And so let's move on then. So one of the things that I've always neglected on this channel is the YouTube Premium memberships, because you notice there's like a little join button down by the side of the videos on our channel, and I haven't really given this much kind of I haven't done much of a thing of this in the past, but I do want to mention this now because apparently people who do have YouTube Premium can redeem a free membership until the end of June. You get a free membership. So if you're a fan of the channel and you're a YouTube Premium member, if you click join, you can do it for free, and we get proceeds of that for 1 month. So that's one free way you can support the channel if you're a YouTube Premium member. I just want to thank everybody who is a YouTube Premium member, because I know we've got Patreon and we do the early access to the podcast and that. And what I think I will do is post to the community members on YouTube in future. So if you do want early access to the podcast and you want to do it via YouTube rather than Patreon, because you don't trust Patreon, you don't like the terms or whatever, you'll be able to do it from YouTube. I will post on Fridays now, I will post the early access to the podcast on the YouTube as well. So I do thank everybody. I'd just like to thank everybody who is a YouTube member, because I hadn't realised, but we've had an influx over the last couple of days. John Patrick is you. I don't know whether this is free subscription or what, but John Patrick again, MVP this week, man. Absolutely. So he's increased his pledge on Patreon and he's given us his subscription here. I try and read these other names, they're a bit small here, but we've got Jalal Ali Al-Rakami, sorry, butchered that, Andrew Richmond, it was over a week ago, I'm going to mention them all anyway. Kate Fury is a member, Mazlad's a member, Anaphylactic is a member, Big Slick, Joseph Berry, and Beech Horn, who is Metal Shark, is a member too. So I just want to thank everybody, and like I said, it's absolutely free for the supporters this month on that if you have a premium YouTube Premium. Anyway, all that said, those are the community, those are supporters, without which we can't continue making this video. So this is why it's important for me to mention it all the time. YouTube AdSense revenue is in the shitter, and we don't get favoured by the algorithm anymore, and it's really difficult for us to keep things going and still pay the bills. So without Patreon, without the YouTube memberships, we couldn't do that. So really heartfelt thank you to everybody who does choose to support us. Like I said, if you do want to support us, patreon.com/bringagain, or just hit the join button on YouTube now. You can do it that way. Thanks very much. Let's move on to the Discord questions. So one of the perks of being a member is that you get access to the secret area, the members area of the Discord channel. It's available to the public. There's a link in the description if you want to join us, but there is a patron or a member only area which you can interact with us on. And one of the perks of being a member is asking us questions for the podcast every week, and Metal Shark has the first question this week, which is the riddle quiz. I haven't even checked who the quiz is for. Is it for me?
Neither of I think it might be for me. Who did you do it last time?
I absolutely. Yeah, I think I might have done it last time.
No.
I think it might be Henry's.
As promised, here's an easier set of riddles for Gaz this week. 4 to beat, no pressure. So it's you two.
It's me again. But
Experience.
it's easier. You promise.
There'll be
You
a more
promise it's
challenging
easier.
Yeah.
You promise it's easier.
Yeah, because your set wasn't very fair, so he's giving you another chance, and then I'll have a really hard one next time. Okay, so the riddles. So in case you don't know, Metal Shark, the wordsmith that he has apparently become, that no one knew was his talent, along with everything technical, he's been putting out these little riddle poem things which describe a certain video game character, and it's our job to figure out who it is. Some of them are really fucking hard.
Yes.
So this first one is: yellow is my colour, or maybe it's black. I can teleport round, punch you in the back. When you hear me say toasty, your demise is soon. But be Forden, my voice acting's a boon. I know who this is.
Is this Scorpion from that fighting game?
I'm not going to give you the point unless you get his game.
Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
I haven't played Mortal Kombat in years, but Scorpion is the one that I remember. He's got that thing and he
Scorpion
comes out and pulls you.
Yeah.
I know Scorpion.
It's the only one anyone knows.
I've got one so far, so I don't care what happens from here.
Alright, Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. His costume is yellow and black. One of his moves is to teleport behind someone, punching them in the back, and it's the most dick move ever. So one of my mates, he's convinced he's good at fighting games. I don't play fighting games. It's not really my thing. But every time he's like, yeah, let's play Mortal Kombat. I'm like, okay. All he does is teleport. He just spams. And I was explaining to Earthworm Ben the other day, spamming can be a legitimate tactic as long as you win. But I'm not playing against that. It's just not fun. And it continues. In Mortal Kombat 2, his toasty flaming skull fatality was voiced by Dan Forden, with prior voice acting, including "Get Over Here," performed by Ed Boon. And Ed Boon is he's like the creative director or something. He's like the main man behind the franchise. So that's a fun little fun fact. Okay, next one. I'm British Chinese and an all-round bad guy. If you know who I'm based on, it's not a far cry. I take selfies and murder. Show tough love through pain. With an eye for fashion, you might call me vain. I know who this is, but I don't remember what his name is.
Yeah, this is the guy from... obviously, the clue was there, it's not a Far Cry. So the Far Cry, and he's bad guy. The Far Cry bad guy, right, who's British Chinese, the only one I can think of is the one from Far Cry 4, right? That guy where you go in the room and you sit with him, he says, wait here. And if you actually wait there, you actually, spoiler alert, you win the game. I can't remember his name. I can't.
No, I've no idea what his name is.
Do I get a point for knowing who it is, but not his name?
I reckon you can have half a point.
Half a point for that.
I think that's half a point, yeah. Because you know it's Far Cry 4 and you know who the guy is.
Yeah, I know exactly. I can see his face, I don't know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know the name. Who is he, Henry?
Alright, well, I'm not even sure you would have managed to guess this name. Pagan Min from Far Cry 4. So, yeah, that's half a point. Based on a Burmese king of the same name, his dramatic introduction involves using a pen as a shiv before taking a selfie with the playable character AJ. Tough love also comes up when explaining the way he treats AJ. Pagan Min always dresses sharp, and there's many references to it in the game. He wears like a pink suit, doesn't he, or something, if I remember correctly. I think he's voiced by Troy Baker. I mean, everyone's voiced by Troy Baker. Okay, so that's one and a half. Next one. I am Dinosaur, who likes to eat, with a shell on my back and boots on my feet. Whilst I sometimes feel woolly, I am in crossovers too. When my worlds are well crafted, I really shine through.
Yoshi, whatever you can call from Yoshi's Crafted World, guy with the dinosaur with the shell on his back. You're right, this is pretty easy so far. That's got to be right?
So that's Yoshi from Super Mario. He's been in Yoshi's Woolly World as well as Yoshi's Crafted World. So there you go. All right, 2.5. Beautiful. Next one. You better hop to it, no victory alone. We can't get through traffic if you stay in the zone. Although the turtles will vanish and the logs may move quick, we'll only succeed if you waggle the stick. I think I know who this is.
Is it the turtles will vanish and the logs will move quick? Is this like the guy from Hopper? Is this Hopper? The game Hopper? Is it Hopper?
You're almost there.
The Hopper.
I think you're right.
Frogger. It's the Frogger guy. It's the guy from Frogger. I don't know his name, but it's the game Frogger because it's the logs that go and the turtles. It's the game's Frogger. Another half point probably.
No, it's just Frogger. Frogger
All right, he's called Frogger.
Frogger.
Beautiful.
You have to get 4 to 7 Frogger to. You have to get 4 to 7 Frogger to their home to win through traffic over turtles that submerge and across logs. Originally played on an arcade machine with a stick. Yeah,
Yes.
that one was quite easy. What, 3.5?
2.5 out of 4.
Okay, next up. Fallen between two stories, my outing proved quite the gem, with a soundtrack by The Who and Bar Choir of London. I'm not sure that one rhymes. Though my history was purged, I remember my skills, showing the publisher you don't need friends for thrills. This one's easy as well.
That's an EA thing, isn't it? You don't need friends for thrills. That's EA, that is. Because
there's a lot of good keywords in this one.
Because it's Andrew Wilson that always says, we always tease him for saying social experiences. So it's an EA game. Can you read it back to me again?
Fallen between two stories, my outing proved quite the gem, with a soundtrack by The Who and Bar Choir of London. Though my history was purged, I remember my skills, showing the publisher you don't need friends for thrills.
There's probably a glaring clue in there, but I'm not picking any. I'm not picking up on it.
There's a few. Some of them are tough clues, which if you you can't figure it out from the game. It's like background knowledge.
If I was familiar with EA games,
you have played
it. Get this. I played it. I think the only
played
EA. I didn't play. I played a little bit Battlefront 2. Okay, I've played. That's the only one.
You'll kick yourself. You'll kick yourself at this one.
Other than what the fuck was that? Fallen Order. Has to be Fallen Order then. Right, Henry? Is it Fallen Order?
What's the playable character in that game?
He's called Cal. He's the ginger Cal guy, right? I'm going for that. I'm pretty sure it's that. Judging by these clues, which I'm really familiar with, it has to be Cal, right?
Cal from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh,
The Who are a Mongolian folk metal band whose song Sugan Asina featured prominently. Yeah, The Who's a great band. They use like Mongolian throat singing, and it's really cool.
Not the Who.
There you go.
A different Who. Cool.
Yeah, the HU. Okay, next one. So that's what, 4.5?
Yes, out of 5, I think.
So there you go. You're beating your last week's score by a half. I test and maintain enrich through an aperture. As you get to know me better, you may find me sinister. Able to run on a potato, although the cake is a lie. For me to succeed, I'm afraid you must die.
That is from Portal.
Easy.
That's from Portal. I don't know the name of the character. It's the computer from Portal. The cake is a lie is what's said in Portal, right? And you gets all sinister at the end. I don't know the name. It's going to kill me. I don't know the name of it.
This is going to be another half pointer, I think.
Okay, I'm happy with that. I can't plug the name. Let's go with that.
GLaDOS from Portal. Responsible for testing and maintenance in the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center. Temporarily supplanted and stuck on a potato battery in Portal 2, the cake is a lie is written on the walls in the game and makes reference to the cake GLaDOS keeps promising.
Yep. Well, I knew who it was again. There you go.
So that's 5 now, with the
5
half
out of
added
6, on. Yeah, 4 and 2 halves.
Okay, next. I think I know who this one is. I can glide through the air and climb up the wall, although stupid memes are now my downfall. Able to spin, my dreadlocks are pink ready, like cross between pink and red. I can appear in a title that was created before me.
Oh, what kind of a wall?
He glides, he climbs. There's stupid memes. He's got pink-red dreadlocks, and he's in a title that was created before him.
Like climb and glide and memes, it's got to be Spider-Man. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's not because there's no dreadlocks, right? Who's got dreadlocks? He flies and glides.
I don't think he'll get this one.
No. All right, I pass.
No. All right. This is definitely Knuckles from Sonic. It is. It's Knuckles from Sonic.
Yeah.
They have pink-red dreadlocks, allowing them to glide, and Knuckles allowing them to climb up the walls. The Sonic and Knuckles pass-through cartridge let you play them in Sonic 2, a game predating the creation of Knuckles. The Ugandan Knuckles meme was heavily frowned upon. That's a stupid meme.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, D-Way.
No, I think that meme passed me by that one. So
you didn't miss much. All right, so still on 5. Next up, paper thin in Japan and fond of a flower, these lyrical beasts are the source of my power. Be it kicking or punching, it's all in the mind. Look for me now. It's a remaster you'll find. I don't know this one.
No. What is that again? Say that again once.
Paper thin in Japan and fond of a flower, these lyrical beasts are the source of my power. Be it kicking or punching, it's all in the mind. Look for me now, and it's a remaster you'll find.
I don't know this. I'm going to have to pass.
No, I don't know this one. This is Parappa the Rapper. Not a game I'm at all familiar with.
It's the...
Parappa is a variant of the Japanese word for paper thin. The game is based on him trying to win the heart of Sunny Funny, the flower girl. The lyrics, kick, punch, it's all in the mind, are familiar to anyone taking lessons from an onion during the original demo. The game was remastered and re-released in 2017.
There you go.
Still on 5.
Of 8.
Okay, two more. I'm feral and green with long orange hair. I can even backflip and roll through the air. Once known as Jimmy, hailing from Brazil, when Skyfallen I was exposed to an eel.
Feral and green. That sounds like Blanca. Is it Blanca from Street Fighter?
That's a good shout.
Because it's electrified, right?
Sounds reasonable. And you're absolutely right. Blanca from Street Fighter 2 onwards. His name was originally Jimmy before his plane crashed over the Amazon and he was exposed to electric eels, giving him his powers.
Wow.
Boom.
That just came. I was inspired.
6.
That came to me. Yeah.
Final one. With where I appear, you may think me angelic, with my assistant on your PC being arguably moronic. I've changed studios, the cord being cut, and my current guardians making the future infinite. You may know me as John,
that's infinite,
but that's
infinite.
fallen from reach.
I'm
I'm going to stop those prophets from being
Chief?
able to preach.
Is it Master Chief?
That's got to be the one. Master Chief from Halo. The
Boom.
digital assistant Cortana is widely known as being being less than wonderful. The original developer was Bungie, hence the cord. Nice one. With the next game after Guardians being Infinite. The character's real name is John. He went through the fall of Reach and he tries to stop the Covenant High Prophets.
That's cool.
So, 7 altogether out of, 8?
6 and 2 halves. 6 and 2 halves out of 10.
Oh, you passed 1 though, so out of 10.
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
Yeah, out of 10. Thanks for that, Mr. Metal Shark. I really appreciate that it was easier. And you all but spelled out the names for most of those. That's how easy they have to be for me to get them. But I do appreciate it. And hopefully you guys had fun at home listening along too. Because it's always a bit fun to answer some trivia. Let's move on to the next question this week. So this comes from Leds. With the current situation around the world, how long do you think it'll be before, if not already, the gaming industry will suffer for the lockdowns, and how long until they bounce back? I've noticed very few games sticking to original release dates. Those who have should kind of get a shout out for doing their best to keep them until they bounce back. I feel like if people aren't able to work before going into their offices and continue work on a game. That's just how it is. So games are being delayed, and we shouldn't vilify that. We shouldn't get angry about the games being delayed. That's just how it is in a lot of places. You literally can't get to work on. I know some companies have allowed developers to take their equipment home so they can work remotely, but it's not always practical in a lot of cases. So, how long do you think it'll take to bounce back? I don't know. I guess it's going to be a delay of 3 months, everything on average. Let's just take it as that. Like the world has stopped still for 3 months, essentially. People just hit the pause button on life, and then you just carry on. Hopefully, 3 months is all it takes. Let's hopefully they can limit that.
I think the most likely thing to keep affecting things in the future is workplace practices and the idea of being able to work at home, because a lot of industries are now proving that it can be done. You don't have to be in the office all the time, and that often gives people a lot more flexibility. Like I don't think most people want to work at home all the time, but having it as an extra option, if you need to be home that day for a parcel or something, you can just do your work at home, grab the parcel, then carry on working. You don't have to. That's just something so mundane, and then there's obviously going to be much more bigger deals. Like if you've got a child you have to pick up from school or something like that. I think that's going to continue to be a factor. I don't know how long it'll take before the industry snaps back, because it's just it all comes down to however long this lockdown lasts, and given what's going on in some parts of the world, I think it may last a little bit longer because people are in very close proximity, and that's how these things spread.
Cool. I noticed that I've missed a couple of questions. We can get back to them, it's no big problem. Are we going to go with the second part of this Let's question? Backup question or second question? We'll read this out. The game you want remastered/released already is asking for your help on how the game should be. You get to help dev the game and get the first, most ultimate copy ever for free. Catch is you have to give up a body part that helps you play that game. This doesn't sound like a good deal. For example, foot for racing games using foot controls, fingers for remotes, or even eyes for seeing the gameplay. What part do you choose to lose? I'd rather get a different hobby. I'll be honest.
I'll keep my body parts rather than sacrificing something for a game.
What part of you do you want chopping off just to play a game? None.
But if I had to pick something, maybe like a sort of useless finger, like one of your ring fingers. Don't really do much.
You cannot cut off a finger. My fingers are the money makers. You know what I mean? I can't.
That's true.
As a guitar player, I can't. Yeah. And take nothing away from my face either, because presenting is part of the thing. So yeah, take a little toe. What game can I play with a little toe?
Pinky toe.
My pinky toe. You can take my pinky toe and my left foot.
Don't need that.
I don't play football that often now, so on my left foot. Hopefully it doesn't affect my balance too much. But I don't know. We'll just make a game that you can only control with your pinky toe and your left foot, just to get me out of this awkward situation, please. That's my answer. I think that's good enough. Let's move on. Let's go back up now, because I think I've skipped a couple there. Sorry. You're up, so.
Yep. All right. I'm just scrolling my things, deciding to be slow. Okay, next one is the recurring question, which is our Game of the Ages question, where we started at the year of our birth and we've gone all the way up to wherever we are now, saying our favourite game from that year. The only stipulation is that you have to have played it. You don't necessarily have to have played it at that moment, because who played a game when they were a newborn baby? I ran out of games a long time ago, so I've moved on to films. But Gaz, what are your games for your year?
All right, so my year this year is 2014, and it was a year that I didn't play a lot of AAA games. There was Dragon Age Inquisition that year. There was a couple of other big games that I've heard of, but didn't really ever get around to playing. I was very busy with working 12-hour night shifts in the factory that year and focusing on my guitar YouTube channel, which the very next year I was able to quit my job in the factory to pursue. So the only games I played this year were mainly indie games. So I've got two standout games from that year. The Long Dark which is an awesome survival game, very gritty, first-person survival game where you're out in like the Canadian snowy mountains. There's wolves out to get you. That was a very, very good game. The other game was This War of Mine. Again, a very similar themed game. It's a war about surviving, a game about surviving a war, where it's the very first game I played where you're not actually taking part in the war. You're just like refugees who are just living in a war zone. You're just trying to scrape by together as like a little family to survive. And I think that game is one that stuck with most. That's going to be my choice, I think, This War of Mine. I think those games both stand up very well. I know they're like 6 years old now, but I can recommend wholeheartedly both of those games. But This War of Mine is just going to pip it because it's just because of what it was essentially. So there you go. We next is Henry's 2004 film.
Yes, so I haven't looked at this in advance really because I just forgot. But the list I've currently got in front of me on Google, there's a lot of good ones here for 2004. So Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's one with Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Shrek 2, which is the best Shrek film, and there's no question of it. I had a lot of backlash for such a controversial opinion in school. They thought Shrek 1 was the best, but I'm telling you, Shrek 2's better. The Incredibles, Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead. I had no idea that both of those films, the Dawn of the Dead remake, obviously, no idea that both of those films actually came out in the same year, but that's hysterical. Mean Girls, which is one of probably the best like girl coming of age film that I like. It's aimed at teenage girls, but I still think it's fun. Troy, which is a fun callback to Total War Troy. That film is sort of really terrible, but it's great. I, Robot, Day After Tomorrow. What else is good? The Bourne Supremacy, Series of Unfortunate Events, Terminal. There's some good stuff, but I think it's Dodgeball. Dodgeball's great. I really like The Butterfly. There's loads of good films, but I'm going to go for Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is excellent. The first one's really, really good, and it's another example of a sequel that does what it needs to do, just bigger, better in every way. Spider-Man 2.
Thanks very much. Let's move on to the next question. So Mel Shark asks, with Epic's online services now being free for developers on any platform selling via any store, will this be a forgotten/mute point when looking at titles such as Division 2, Fallout 76, etc., charging for additional inventory item space? Destiny 2 saying they can't increase the vault size due to server costs, or Xbox Live/PlayStation Plus charging monthly for these services. Should consumers be pushing back on these practices now? A free alternative is readily available. Again, another kind of pro-Epic thing if they're offering this for free. But yeah, absolutely. I think every opportunity that these corporations and companies have to nickel and dime people, they take. So if it's just like, oh, we can't afford to get more servers, so you can't have more inventory space. So you're gonna have to pay us. It's like bullshit, man. You're big corporate entities, or you're run by big corporate entities. Right, Destiny 2 is slightly different because they're independent now, but I don't know how much money do they make off these games that they can't offer something. Oh no, we can't not be driving around in our Ferraris. I've got a holiday to pay for. I've got to go, buy a new holiday home in the Maldives, for example. I can't sacrifice that. You've got to pay for your server space. It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's an unreasonable statement to make that, oh yeah, we can't afford to give you this fundamental gameplay thing, so we're gonna charge you for it to pay us, even though we are multi-million-dollar corporations, especially like Xbox and PlayStation. Microsoft and Sony are enormous. There's no reason to charge your consumer to do that for such a fundamental thing, which is inventory space. I think that's outrageous. Absolutely. And yeah, absolutely should push back.
Absolutely. And lastly, another Metal Shop question. We're going to finish up with this one. So it's a short question this week. Shorter bunch of questions this week. So we'll just finish off with this one. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, let's just see what we got. Metal Shark. Let's see what we... Oh, I'm reading the wrong one. I was just reading one of the old ones. This makes more sense. Yeah. If there's room for one more question, what's your views on Ubisoft's terms and conditions changes? Oh yeah, this is a weird one. I thought I was going to cover this, but then I didn't. appreciate most of the current discussion is on who owns media rights of captured footage, but my personal bugbear is Section 6.9. Suspension or closing of your account and or your ability to use one or more services for Section 5.3.16 being away from keyboard, AFK, on any forum which they define in Section 3.1 as information, groups, chats, or other types of online discussion areas. So the big policy changes, basically they own everything about everything you do in the game and every use of the game you do outside of it. So if you stream it on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, they own that footage and everything in the footage, including your face.
Your contribution, yeah. Ridiculous.
It's absurd.
That is absurd. So you get your account suspended or closed if you're away from the keyboard, essentially, which is on any forum which they define as information groups, chats, or other type of online discussion areas. That's not AFK in a game specifically, is it? It's just groups, chats, and discussion areas. What does that mean?
It depends if they class streaming things as an online discussion area, because it's an online platform where you can discuss things.
It's ridiculous, is what it is. It's another corporation trying to own everything. Owning stuff is how you get money. Let's gobble everything up, and let's gobble everything up that is a result of our game. Like, we make this game, and anything that you make with the game, we own now. And you've agreed to it, so screw you, because we're a big corporation and you've already agreed to it to play the game. It's bullshit, man. It's absolute bullshit. I wish we could just totally. I don't know what we can do. What can we do against this? It's like you have to accept this, or you can't play our games. It's like, really, is this what we've come down to? Is it really that bad? Apparently so.
I can't remember who it was, but one of you lovely Patreon members sent a link to a video of this man and woman talking about it, and I think the woman suggested, if they're planning to use my likeness, because they technically own it now if I use it on stream, if they're planning to use it for advertising, I'm just going to make my streams as un-advertiser friendly as possible, just writing like a swear word across your forehead, just like fuck, so that they can never use it and they'll never be able to make money off it. I thought that's quite a funny solution, but it's still ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous. You're right. It's just more corporations exerting as much control as possible.
Anyway, thanks for the questions this week, guys. And if you do want to ask a question for the podcast, head to the Patreon Discord, where you find the Ask Us a Question for the podcast channel, and leave it there. We'll ask it next week. So let's move on to the next segment, which is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week. So this comment was left on the podcast last week, where I discussed my thoughts about how Epic and Steam are literally the same to me, because all you do is use them to access your games. I've got no other commitment to either of those outside of they are just a barrier for me to access my games. Now, I was hoping that somebody would react to this, and somebody took me up on it, and I don't think he's totally steaming about it, but see what I did there. He's not totally steaming about it, but he's halfway. But so the Clockwork Man fell for the bait, and he says, here's a Triggered Fanboy comment for you dumbasses. If you buy on Epic, it will affect you because the more China influences our market to reflect theirs, the more they will censor games in the West. So buying on Epic is a dumb idea, but you do you. Also, speaking Welsh sounds like you're talking out of your arse. I don't know if he's putting it on here so we can get the Triggered Fanboy, but he's done it.
I think...
Yeah, he is a Triggered Fanboy. I think that, I don't know whether it's just an American thing. I don't know whether there's just a load of propaganda in America where they just get fed all this, like, China's evil. China's evil. China's going to get you. You better watch China. China is going to fuck you in the ass. I don't know if this is my perception or that's a European as well thing. But I just think, like, Americans are so anti-China, and I don't know what it is, whether it's the way that their government communicates with them about China and stuff like that. But I just don't get it. Like, so what if China influences the market to reflect theirs. All right, you reckon they're going to censor games in the West? How are they going to do that? How in the world are China going to censor our games? That's not how the world works, dude. I think that's a bit of a grasp. Anyway, even if they do, influence whatever, like this, all we're talking about is a big corporation from China versus a big corporation from, or the Chinese government versus a corporation in the West. I think that which is the most evil. Do we even have to discuss it? Big corporations are all evil, and if it might be out of frying pan into the fire for you. You might think of it like that, but it's really not going to have any bearing on my enjoyment of playing games, because I don't see them censoring games in the West. That's a ridiculous. They might have to conquer the UK before they can censor games in the West. That's the only way I can see the China influencing, and they're going to do that because I buy a game on Epic Store. I think that's a bit of a grasp. I think that's like tinfoil hat speak, if you ask me. Like, oh, you can't buy games from Epic Games because China are going to come and they're going to censor your games. Nah, man, just don't see it.
I mean, you're absolutely right. There's all this kind of anti-China sentiment that it's kind of quite popular at the moment. But like, if they try and let's say it's true. Let's say it's true that China is trying to influence your stuff, because there are certain things in media and entertainment which are altered for the Chinese market. A big one is stuff like on the poster for Star Wars The Force Awakens, Finn's character, who's played by John Boyega, a black guy, was significantly reduced to appease China, and that's bullshit. But it's solely because China has a long history of distaste for black people, and that's them trying to appeal to them. That's ridiculous, and Disney are massive hypocrites for doing that sort of thing.
Was that poster only released in China, or was that poster released in the West as well?
No, there are two different ones. There's the Western one has him quite large because he's one of the like 3 or 4 like primary characters. Then he's significantly reduced in the Chinese one, but also there are other changes, like the droids are bigger, the ships are bigger. Yeah. I think Kylo Ren is in a totally different pose. So there's other things more than just the race stuff, but it is.
So that talking about his point, right? That didn't affect our experience at all, because our experience was exactly the same. China, that influence of China only affected the people who saw the posters in China, not the people who saw the posters in the West. That's
exactly what I mean. I mean, there's companies. I think companies are trying to appease China in China. If that makes sense. I don't think they're almost too cowardly in their convictions of being pricks to double down and make it ubiquitous across the board. I think generally, for the most part, they're fine doing what they want to do here, because they know if they do start censoring based on Chinese perceptions and attitudes and whatnot, they're just going to get a whole lot of shit flung at them, and they know they're not going to make money from it. They serve it in their best interests in terms of finances to appease China in China and stay appeasing the West in the West, if that makes sense. I don't think China's a big threat to our games, to be honest. And also, speaking Welsh sounds like you're talking out of the arse. I mean, you throw out a little bit of bigotry just to punctuate your point.
Yeah, consolidate the fact that you're talking shit, essentially. But yeah, that's the line that makes me think, oh, he's baiting me here. He's baiting me. He doesn't really think.
I mean, I take the piss out of Welsh all the time, but it's a joke. It's fine. I can make jokes.
He's probably joking, and that's why I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. He's probably joking.
He's probably joking. I'm not giving him that much. I'm saying he's doing it with tongue in cheek, probably. But anyway, we didn't want to go into.
He wins nonetheless.
Yeah, he was the trigger fanboy, because I didn't really want to go into all that other shit that was flung on the other video. So let's keep it kind of half clean with the tongue in cheek one this week, and let's move on to some other YouTube comments. So the first one I want to read out. Do you have any prepared? I don't think you have, do you?
I've got a couple. I've got about 3 that I quite like.
Okay, the first one I'm going to read out. The first one I'm going to read out is from Kate Fury. He was one of the members of YouTube, the YouTube membership thing. And it's not so much a question as a comment he left on our last week's podcast. And he said, since you guys love where Gamer's House came from, I'll share mine. At one of my mate's bachelor party, they had a jumping castle with giant boxing gloves. I come from Cape Town, and everyone at the party was from Pretoria. So needless to say, they were drinking and fighting with the giant boxing gloves, and I bought I brought a certain ferocity, winky, smiley face, which made them laugh as the punches don't really do anything, but they ended up calling me Cape Fury for the rest of the time. So that's where that's where Cape Fury comes from, because he's from Cape Town and he was furiously boxing with us. He was just like,
that sounds like a great bachelor party. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that comment.
Have you got an interesting one? So I think I've talked about mine before. Mine is well, there's technically two, but they're the same one. My Xbox One is Emperor Tic Tac, and my PlayStation 1 is also Emperor Tic Tac, but my Xbox One is spelled wrong. The O and the E in Emperor are the wrong way round, and then Microsoft introduced the thing we have to pay to change it, and I was just like, I'm not fucking paying anything to change my bloody username. But that comes from, I was in like year 7 or year 8 drama class in high school, so I was like 11 or 12, 13, somewhere around there, and we were doing about TV serials, and the example was something like Flash Gordon, a big campy, pulpy sci-fi thing. So we had to kind of do a little thing based on that. So I parodied the evil Emperor Ming, is it, in Flash Gordon? Yes. I think it's the evil Emperor Ming, and I was the evil Emperor Tic Tac, and that's the extent of it. He was just a sinister Bond villain type who was flamboyant and ridiculous in this little stupid 5-minute scene we had to do in drama high school.
Nice. There you go. Emperor Tic Tac. Add him on all the socials. all the platforms. So next up, John Patrick, who is a patron, the guy who increased his pledge, and this was the comment that I was referring to earlier. And he says, "I bloody love you, Mr. Henry Langgreen Cooper. I agree with everything you said in this. The counter arguments are valid, but the rebuke of the counter arguments is so right. Increasing my pledge right now because of it. You're amazing, sir. Well done for speaking out, and well done for sticking to your morals and good morality." So again, I just wanted to highlight that.
Thank you.
We don't always get the most amount of views, and people don't always agree with us. But there are, as long as we put our hearts on the line and we tell people what we think and we're honest about it, right? We'll always connect with people, and we'll always have fans, we'll always have followers, and I think this is a prime example of that. And I really do appreciate the support that you're giving us here, Mr. John Patrick, because it's really appreciated. Without loyal supporters and followers like you, we couldn't carry on. So I just want to highlight that and just say thanks all around for that response, as well as everyone else who commented the same kind of things in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is just thank you to everyone who supported with Patreon and stuff, but also thank you for people who just acknowledge that even if you don't like it, you don't have to agree with what I said. You can. It's something I wanted to say, and you can still respect that. So
yeah, cool.
Anywho, I've got another good comment here which I quite like, and it's from I think yesterday's video where the middle story was about The Last of Us 2 adding some really, really good accessibility options for people with various physical conditions or disabilities or whatever. So this person, M. Gibus, although I don't like the politics in the although I don't dig the politics, The Last of Us 2's accessibility options are something I hope become a bigger trend. I remember meeting a one-arms gamer who couldn't play certain titles because of his condition. I think this is a good thing because a lot of people don't like the perceived political direction The Last of Us 2's gone in, which is more than well within your rights to do. But he's overlooking that. He's like, I think a lot of people when they don't like something, they just say all the bad stuff about it. The Last of Us is this, it's political, there's too many cutscenes, the gameplay's boring, it's a generic plot, all that stuff. But you can it's undeniably a good thing that these accessibility things are in there. There's some really good ones. Some of them I enjoy. I always, if I can, up the text size of subtitles and whatnot because, well, I mean, I wear glasses, so my eyesight's obviously not like 100% anyway, but I sit kind of far away from my TV and I don't want to be squinting the whole time, so I turn it up. Little things like that make a difference to me, and then there's more significant things like being able to have high contrast filters for people with proper not proper, but more severe visual difficulties, like being colorblind and stuff. All that is amazing and important. I haven't seen anyone saying anything bad about it, and I don't see how you could, despite you can hate the rest of the game, But I like that this man is willing to be like, yeah, this is really good, and I think more of it should happen.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree with that. So I mean that accessibility cannot be a detractor for anybody. It only accentuates people's experience with the game. I don't think anybody gets negatively impacted by more accessibility options. That's for sure. So yeah, it's definitely a great thing. Next comment was from last week's podcast, and Mars June comments. This is a mixed one, right? Honestly, I'm watching this because I enjoy hearing you guys talk. Well, you're welcome. This isn't an ASMR channel. But your content... So I've lost my voice there. Shh, ASMR. So read the rest of his comment. But your content,
do it.
other than the games talked about, bore me to death. All you ever discuss are these useless console fan fests, mainstream to AAA hit releases, and the most popular of popular indie games. I feel dirty. Yeah, so he enjoys our voices. I hope you enjoyed that, Mr. Marsh Jr. or Mrs. Marsh Jr., whoever you are. But all we ever discuss are the useless console fan fests, mainstream AAA hit releases, and the most popular of indie games. What else is there left? You want us to just talk about the least popular indie games. That's all there is left. That's, in my opinion, in my understanding, that's all there is left. The least popular indie games. Is that all you want us to talk about? Do you want our channel to die? Our voices won't be heard that much longer if all we talk about is the least popular indie games. All the shit games, literally. We should talk about all the shit games because our voices won't be heard for very much longer if we did that. I'm sorry. And I appreciate you trying to give us some positive feedback because you do enjoy listening. Hopefully this has switched up a little bit because we didn't play any games this week. Or we didn't talk about any games this week at the very least. We talked about news. So hopefully you were interested in that and you stuck along with us long enough to hear me do some ASMR for the first time on YouTube. I think that's a new channel, an offshoot side channel to get some revenue to keep paying the bills. I have to be lower to that.
Pretty good ASMR. We just record all the same videos, just run every recording twice, and one read normally and run one read as
ASMR gaming, man. Imagine that, like if someone has a gaming channel there. So I'm pretty sure somebody's already done that. Pretty sure.
So I've got a couple more comments left. So the first one, it's not the first comment I like, it's the reply, which is ridiculous. So this is on last week's podcast as well. The first comment is from Marcus Malone. And it's kind of odd. I don't know how to receive these sorts of things. I'm a hetero guy, but I'd probs turn for Henry, lol. I don't really know how I'm supposed to receive that. But there's the next reply, who's from a regular commenter, who always... I feel like this guy is he has to be just a troll, because he's commenting all the time, and it's all the similar sort of stuff, being like overtly mean, and yeah, he's probably just being playful, because I can't rationalize anyone who dislikes us that genuinely would comment this much and be so consistent in like every video. This is from Ian P, who has commented many times, asking a supposedly legitimate question. Is it the 12-year-old personality, the horn-rimmed glasses, the goofy face, or the hook nose that does it for you? Genuinely interested. 12-year-old personality. Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. I've been a teenage boy for my whole life, and I don't ever plan to change. Horn-rimmed glasses. These aren't horn-rimmed glasses, at least in my mind. They've got the little notches on the hinges there. So I mean, they're not really. Goofy face. I often pull silly faces. All right, that's fine. Hook nose. A better comment, so this is where you could have upped your game, is say wonky nose. Because my nose, I broke it. Well, it was broken. I didn't break it. It was broken years ago. I think I've talked about this before. And it slopes that way. You can't see it. You might be able to if I just sit still. You might see it. Yeah. It does kind of just come down a little bit, and you can't see it. In it, like in my septum as well, it's literally like a right angle. It's wonderful. So mental note, Ian P, if you want to throw a sick burn, mention my wonky nose, and it's a good one. Yeah.
How did you break it? Do you mind me asking?
So this is a ridiculous story. Years ago, kind of like some family friends came round. All the adults were, drinking wine and just chilling. So all us kids, there's probably about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 of us. we're all on our bikes, and around by my house, there's like a drive up the side, and there used to be a bunch of like garages and stuff around the back, but they're out of use, so you can just this pathway basically. So we're gonna have a bike race down there. So my house is here. There's this path here, and then there's a green, and we're gonna go all the way around the green and then back up. I think, the youngest, so I kept losing. So then they're eventually like, oh, you go at the front, we'll give you a head start. Cycle down this path, go round onto the green, slip off my bike, like skid off onto some gravel or something. That's not what did it. What did it is my wonderful sister, who I love very dearly, who, long story short, ran over my face, trying not to run over the rest of me.
No way.
Literally, I mean, I
get run over by your sister on a bike.
I don't know how old I was. I must have been like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6, something like that. And she...
You can still see the tire marks on the side of your nose, dude.
I know. I've got rubber burnt into my nose now.
Wow. That is a story now. Yeah. If you're going to break your nose, then you're going to have a good story about it. That's story.
I mean, I could say, I got in a fight and you should see the other guy, but no, I got...
Well, you can hold. That's one thing you can hold over for the rest of your life, right? You can. Oh yeah. You can always like. Well, you owe me. Why? You ran over my face. I mean,
yeah.
If there's one way to get someone to bend to your will, it's with that guilty.
Yeah, exactly.
Thing. It's like, well, you've got to do it for me. You ran over my face.
My mum took me to A&E and everything. No doubt ruined their evening. And it took ages for anyone to see me, and I've got all this like dried blood all over my face, trying to just clean it. But then they're like, "Okay, yeah, there's nothing we can do now. It's not bleeding. It's not going anywhere. So we'll book you in for a surgery to try and like realign it and kind of click it back into place or whatever." Went through all that, signed in at the hospital, went down. Then the surgeon came over for like the like last minute checks before the whole like anesthesia and the wheels start turning, and then basically said, yeah, I'm not going to do any better than it currently is, so we're just not going to do it. We're just not going to bother. So one other thing that really annoyed me is that in the like kids room of the hospital there's an N64, and I was really looking forward to playing Star Fox, but I couldn't because we just had to go home.
Killed your dreams of not only having a straight nose again, but being able to play Star Fox.
I couldn't play Star Fox. Yep.
There we go. So that is the comment section for this week. And as Henry's awesome story of the week is also another bonus segment for you guys there. Let's move on to the very last segment of this podcast so we round it up. This is the bad dad joke of the week. Okay, Henry, what did the traffic light say to the car?
I don't know. What did the traffic light say to the car?
Don't look. I'm changing.
Oh, poor bashful traffic light.
There you go. That is the bad dad joke of the week. If you could do any worse, let us know down in the comments. And that is it for our podcast this week. And I just would find one final call out. If you do want to support the channel, you could join YouTube here, or you can go to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and get access to the podcast a couple of days early, and know that you are supporting us bringing this content, without which we cannot bring content. So thank you very much, everybody. On behalf of Henry and I, thanks for your support. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now.